welcome again to a new session at Educators Plus. I am Akarshi, your English faculty at Educators Plus. So students, today we will be discussing about European literature. So if you are following my series, so you must be knowing that we have completed British literature, American literature, Indian literature, post-colonial literature, and now it's the turn for European literature. Yes, students, this forms the last kind of a study of the continents and the country. Then we'll be beginning with literary theory, literary criticism. All these lessons will also be coming in front of you. Okay, so students, I hope you are doing well and your studies are also going really very well and you are enjoying these series. So please let me know in the chat box, am I visible and audible to you properly? Yes, good morning, Atul. Please let me know, am I audible and visible to you properly? Okay, so now let's begin the class and let's not waste much of the time because we have a lot of authors to be covered in this particular class, and we're discussing important writers of German, French, Russian descent and Italian also, and we'll be discussing their works, important characters, and what do you have to remember about those works. Okay, so now let's begin the class. So the first writer which will be there in front of you is Dante Alighieri. Yes, student, you know, Boccaccio, Petrarch and Dante are the important writers of the Italian literature, and in Italy, Dante is often referred to as Il Sommo Poeta. Okay, he is also known as Il Sommo Poeta. Okay, so it is the Italian name Il Sommo Poeta, which in English means the supreme poet. Okay, क्या बोलते हैं इसको English में? The supreme poet. And you must be agreeing that he is a supreme poet, because when we started studying from Chaucer, okay, the Middle Age is basically drawn from the inspiration from the classical writers. Even if you come to Augustine age, rationality starts prevailing, but the Romantic writer rejected that rationality and started writing their own emotions and thoughts. Also, if you see the Restoration age, जहाँ पे theatre was actually vulgar, theatres were banned in the Puritan age, and Restoration age जब theatres open हुए थे, the people started showing all kinds of plays, all kinds of vulgarity over that in order to make their ends meet. Now when the Augustine age came, they thought to revive the literature, and they started again looking back to the great writers of the classical age to get the inspiration and the reform their literature. So that's why these Italian writers are of much importance, and Dante is one of the Italian writers, and in Italy he is known as Il Sommo Poeta, which means the supreme poet. Okay, poet. So you can see that even the Italians also believe that yes, Dante is a very remarkable poet. And please remember, the three Italian poets, Dante, Petrarch and Boccaccio, are also known as three fountains or three crowns. ठीक है? Petrarch, Boccaccio and Dante. These three are known as three fountains or three crowns. ठीक है, इनको थ्री फाउंटेन्स और थ्री क्राउन्स भी बोला जाता है, बिकॉज दे एक्चुअली आर वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट व्हेन इट कम्स टू द इटालियन लिटरेचर. सो प्लीज रिमेंबर, Dante, Petrarch and Boccaccio are known as the three fountains or the three crowns. And Dante's poem, The Divine Comedy, which you can see over here, Dante's poem Divine Comedy is a very important work. इससे आपके नेट में questions पूछे जाते हैं. So when I will be teaching you the Divine Comedy, I will be telling you what questions have been asked in your previous years. Okay, and please remember that Divine Comedy is one of the most important works of medieval literature. ठीक है, तो मैंने बोला था जब Chaucer there was a transition from medieval to modern, so people started looking back again to the medieval age to get the inspiration. Even if you see that when the when sonnet arrived in England, okay, so it was actually the imitation of the Petrarchan sonnet which originated in Italy, and the idealization of beloved, and Petrarch's beloved was Laura. So that's the idealization of beloved as a theme of the sonnet, and which was also adopted in English by Shakespeare and Spenser sonnet as well. So, and Shakespeare used to dedicate his sonnets to a black lady and a WH, or you can say a young youth or fair youth, and Spenser used to dedicate his sonnets to Elizabeth Boyle. Similarly, Sidney also taken that culture of idealizing the beloved, and Penelope was the the beloved of Sidney, and he used to idolize her in his sonnets. Okay, so similarly, this Divine Comedy is a very important work of the medieval literature, and it shows the imaginary journey through hell, purgatory and paradise. Okay, three realms से ये journey दिखाई जाती है. And what are these three realms? Hell, purgatory and paradise. ठीक है? These are the three realms through which the character passed in this particular work, and these are the three realms, that is hell, purgatory and paradise. And the work explores the ideas of afterlife in medieval Christian belief. ठीक है? So what is the main theme of the Divine Comedy? That is, it shows or it explores the idea of afterlife. ठीक है? Idea of afterlife has been emphasized in the work Divine Comedy. So idea of afterlife has been emphasized, which is actually a Christian belief in medieval literature. Okay, and basically originally the poem is called Commedia. It was Boccaccio. Okay, it was Boccaccio who added Divina in front of Divine Comedy. ठीक है, पहले उसको क्या ओरिजिनल उसका नेम क्या था? कॉमेडिया. ठीक है, बट व्हेन Boccaccio came, he actually was actually responsible for adding Divina to Divine Comedy. ठीक है, किसने, if this question comes in your exam, that who has added the word Divina in Divine Comedy, it was Boccaccio. Okay, and please remember that Dante is responsible for making famous a new dialect, and that was Tuscan dialect. ठीक है, उसके most of the works Tuscan dialect में लिखे गए हैं. Please remember that Dante has originated a new form of dialect that is called a Tuscan dialect, and उसका जो work है New Life and Divine Commedia, both are written in Tuscan dialect. Okay, is this clear? That both of these work have been written in Tuscan dialect. Okay, and let me tell, okay, one more thing, that Boccaccio wrote a biography of Dante. ठीक है, किसने लिखा था biography of Dante? Boccaccio. ठीक है, जो Boccaccio ने, the one who added Divina in the comedy of Divine Comedy, it is the one who has written biography of Dante. ठीक है, it was Boccaccio who has written the biography of Dante. Okay, and it was T.S. Eliot, the American poet, who was greatly influenced by Dante, but Dante in a class with only other poets of the modern world. ठीक है, so उसने Dante के लिए क्या बोला था कि Dante in a class which cannot be shared with any other poet except one, and who is that writer? Shakespeare. Okay, so he said that Dante का फेम इतना बड़ा था कि हम उसको किसी से कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते हैं except one writer, that is Shakespeare. Okay, and he said that Shakespeare and Dante divide the modern world between them. Okay, so please remember, it was said by T.S. Eliot that Shakespeare and Dante divide the modern world between them, and there is no third. Okay, so modern world has been divided between Dante and Shakespeare, and there is no place for the third writer. Please remember this. Okay, is this clear? Now coming back to the Divine Comedy. So let me tell you a few important points of the Divine Comedy. So please remember, this particular poem begins on the night before Good Friday. Okay, so Good Friday have a very good significance in the Christian literature or the Christian religion, and this poem begins before the night, on the night before Good Friday. Okay, and it is being quoted in the poem, that is halfway along our life path. Please remember, this is a very important quotation. halfway along our life's path. Okay, so please remember, when did the Divine Comedy begin? It begins halfway along our life's path, or you can say on a night before Good Friday. And in this particular poetry, Dante is 35 years old and he was lost in a dark wood, assailed by a beast. Okay, please remember the age of Dante. It was 35 years old and he was lost in the woods and he was threatened by some beasts. And who were these beasts? Lion, leopard and she-wolf. Lion, leopard and she-wolf. So these were the three beasts which who actually threatened Dante in that dark forest, and he is unable to find the straight way to salvation. So ultimately, if you see any Christian allegory or Christian writing, the last aim of the writer or the writing is to have salvation, and Dante also wanted to have the same, and he was not able to find the way. Even if you look at by Pilgrim Progress, okay, by John Bunyan, you see that in both of the part of the Pilgrim Progress, Christian or Christiana is actually aiming for salvation. Okay, so in this particular work, Dante was conscious that he is falling into a low place, okay, and where the sun set, and Dante is last rescued by Virgil. So he said that he is falling, like Slog of Despond was there in Pilgrim Progress by Bunyan. Similarly, here the lowest place was there, which is also known as Basso Loco. Okay, Basso Loco, or in English it means low place, where the Dante was falling, and when he was falling, he was ultimately rescued by whom? He was rescued by Virgil. Okay, he was rescued by Virgil. If you see House of Fame by Chaucer, वहाँ पे कौन guide था? Who was the guide of Chaucer in that House of Fame? It was Eagle, and here the guide of Dante was Virgil, and the two of them begins their journey to the underworld. Who were the two of them? That is Dante and Virgil. They began their journey to the underworld. And please remember, this Divine Comedy is composed of 14,233 lines. Okay, and it has been divided into three canticles. And what were the three canticles? It was Hell, Purgatory and Paradise. Okay, it was divided into three canticles, that is Hell, Purgatory और Paradise. ठीक है, सो हमें इसको इसमें बुक में हेल को इन्फर्नो बोला गया है. ओके, पुर्गाटरियो, these are all Italian words, and Paradiso. Inferno, Purgatorio and Paradiso, which actually in English means hell, purgatory and paradise. Please remember these points. And each of the particular in canticas contains 33 cantos. ठीक है, सब में 33 cantos है, और you can say paragraph 33 cantos है. And the initial canto 100 total है. दो initial canto में क्या था? It actually acts as an introduction to the poem and generally considered to be part of the first cantica, that is Inferno. Okay, and it actually therefore brings the total number of cantos to 100. Yes, good morning Devendra. ठीक है, तो Hell, Purgatory and Paradise में 33 cantos थे, and the one canto was there which acts the introduction to the first canto, that is Hell, and therefore the total cantos in Divine Commedia are 100. ठीक है, कितने cantos हैं? There are 100 cantos in Divine Commedia. Okay, and there is also a dog. It is kind of a three-headed dog, which is also known as Cerberus. Cerberus is the dog, and he is a three-headed dog, and he appears in the poem guarding the entrance to the third circle of the hell. Okay, so where, if the question comes, where do you find a three-headed dog, that is Cerberus in Divine Comedy? So he is found at the entrance of the third circle of hell, or you can say Inferno. ठीक है, and greeting those who have succumbed to gluttony. So if you remember the 7 sins, so one of the sin is gluttony. तो जो लोग have committed the sin of gluttony, they are sent to the third circle of hell, and the third circle of hell has been guarded by Cerberus, or the three-headed dog. Okay, and what is the final realm of this particular Divine Comedy's journey? It is Paradiso, and it is the third and the final part. Okay, Paradiso or Paradise is the third and the final part, and it is an allegory telling of Dante's journey through heaven. Ultimately, Paradiso is a synonym of heaven, and here Dante's it shows that this part shows the journey of Dante through heaven, and who actually guide Dante in heaven. He was in Inferno, he was guided by, or he was saved by Virgil, but in heaven he was actually, you know, being accompanied by his beloved, that is Beatrice, who symbolizes theology. Okay, theology is the study of religion. Okay, and here he accompanies to Beatrice, and who Beatrice is a symbol of theology. Please remember this. So Paradise mein who was his guide? It was Beatrice, who has been considered as a beloved of Dante, and Beatrice is a symbol of theology, which is a study of religion. Is this clear? Okay, and ये question आपका नेट में आ चुका है कि who was a guide or who was a companion of Dante in the third part of Divine Comedy? It was Beatrice. Okay, please remember the name of Beatrice, and please also remember that Beatrice is a symbol of theology. So this was all about Divine Comedy. I hope this, you know, spectacular work by Dante and a great classical work by Dante has been, you know, cemented in your brain. I have told you the important points regarding Divine Comedy. Any problem, you can just ask me in the chat box. Okay, next let's discuss about La Vita Nuova. ठीक है, इसको न्यू लाइफ को क्या बोला गया है? La Vita Nuova. Okay, so it is La Vita. 1 minute. I think it has been eradicated with. Oh, sorry, it has gone. Okay, I'll just tell you that. Okay, the new life is also known as La Vita Nuova. Okay, in Italian it means that La Vita Nuova, and it is an Italian title for the new life or the Vita Nova, and is a work by Dante, and the work is composed in Italian language. And which dialect it was? I told you Dante is known for originating a Tuscan dialect, so New Life and Divine Comedy both are written in Tuscan dialect. And in this work Dante uses the courtly love tradition, okay, recounting Dante's love for Beatrice from his first sight of her and all the way to his mourning after her death. तो okay, तो Dante ने अपने इसमें एक लाइफ दिखाई है अपनी when he has fallen in love with Beatrice by seeing her for the first time and by mourning her death, okay, and his determination to write of her in his writings. ठीक है, so एक writer जो एक lover का जो एक एक picture होती है in the love sonnets, or you can say the love writings. He lover first of all fallen in love with the beloved, then he mourns her death, and then he immortalizes her in his writings. So such kind of scenarios also shown by Dante in the New Life or the Vita Nuova. Is this clear? Okay, and the last work of Dante is on eloquence in the vernacular. On eloquence in the vernacular, and it is a work by Dante, and it's a collection of this work is a collection of Latin essays written by Dante. So please remember, it is a collection of Latin essays by Dante. Okay, and this on eloquence in the vernacular is a collection of Latin essays by Dante, and in this particular work Dante defended use of vernacular in literature. Okay, and the work was abandoned in the middle of the second book, so it is a kind of an incomplete work. Dante wanted to write this particular work, but in this when the second book began, in the middle of the second book he abandoned this work because he became bored of this work. Similarly, Okay, so please remember that in this work, Dante defended use of vernacular in literature. Is this clear? Okay, let's move ahead. I hope I have made myself clear all the details about Dante. So please remember all the details which I have asked you to write. Next is Boccaccio. I told you Boccaccio, Petrarch and Dante are known as three fountains or three crowns. So the next writer in this particular legacy is Boccaccio. And please remember, Boccaccio has written a famous work, that is Decameron, which is actually served as the inspiration for Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. Okay, and Decameron is a collection of 100 stories told by 10 characters against the background of bubonic plague that overtook Italy. ठीक है, so 100 stories है और इसका background क्या है? Bubonic plague. Okay, so it has 10 characters and 10 characters को अगर मैं ज़्यादा split करूँ तो 7 females and 3 males. ठीक है, so these people, 10 characters, trying to flee the plague in Italy. And what was the name of that plague? It was bubonic plague. Okay, and in order to pass the journey or to break the monotony of the journey, they decided to tell tales, and it resulted in the 100 tales of Decameron. Okay, so please remember this. Next is De Mulieribus Claris, or Concerning Famous Women. Please remember, this is the Italian title, and in English it is known as Concerning Famous Women. Okay, so it is a work by Dante. Only have to remember the name, and also just remember that this work by Boccaccio was a source of Christian de Pisan, City of Ladies. Okay, जो the City of Ladies है by Christian de Pisan, this has taken inspiration from Concerning Famous Women by Boccaccio. ठीक है, so this work served as the base for Christian de Pisan, City of Ladies. Okay, and just this thing you have to remember about this work. Then is Genealogy of the Gentile Gods. So this work by Boccaccio is considered to be an encyclopedia of classical mythology written in 50 books. ठीक है, it is a encyclopedia of classical mythology in 15 books. So this thing you have to remember. You don't have to go much into depth. And please remember that Boccaccio defines poetry as a fervid and exquisite invention. ठीक है, so Boccaccio ने poetry के लिए क्या बोला था? Fervid and exquisite invention in speech and writing that proceeds from the bosom of God. Okay, so it was God who inspires it, and it comes from the bosom of God. Is this clear? Okay, so this was all about Boccaccio, and this things just is enough to remember about Boccaccio. इस सारा डिटेल में आपसे नहीं पूछते हैं. Fine. Christian de Pisan. So as I told you, Boccaccio's Concerning Famous Women is the base for the work City of Ladies of Christian de Pisan. So first let me tell you about Christian de Pisan. So she is a prolific female voice of the European Middle Ages. ठीक है, so she was a female voice of the female class during the European Middle Ages, and in her first work, Epistle of the God of Love, she impugned the misogynistic portrayals of women. ठीक है, so people who hate women, so their portrayal has been there in this work, and she impugned the misogynistic portrayals of women in this particular work. Please remember this. And she also has published a poem on Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc has been a very much, very much importance in the medieval literature. That's why she has also written a poem on Joan of Arc, and her book, her book of the City of Ladies was influenced by Boccaccio's Concerning Famous Women. And in this particular book, she attempts to rewrite the history of women. ठीक है, so उसने women का origin से लेकर, उसका birth से लेकर, उसका adulthood tak she has traced the history of women, and the book is written in basically the form of conversation between Christian and three allegorical virtues. ठीक है, allegory and ये allegorical virtues जो depiction होता था, it was a very much famous you can say the prominent feature of the medieval literature. And similarly Christian de Pizan had also done in her work the book of the City of Ladies, and she was in conversation with three allegorical virtues. And वो कौन से virtues थे? It was reason, rectitude and justice. ठीक है, please remember that. ये three virtues थे in which she was in conversation with, and their conversation has been depicted in this particular work. And please remember these three regions who appeared in the form of three crowned ladies. ठीक है, इसको क्या बोला गया था? They appeared in the form of three crowned ladies. Please remember this. ठीक है, so ये तीन virtue three crowned ladies के form में they appeared in this particular work, the book of the City of Ladies. Is this clear? Okay, let's move ahead now. Now let's study about Gustave Flaubert. ठीक है, उसने लाइफ टाइम में अपनी एक ही बुक लिखी है जिसको उसे लिखने में बहुत टाइम लगा रहा था, and it has ultimately come out to be of great success, that is Madame Bovary. ठीक है, Gustave Flaubert ने कौन सी बुक लिखी? Madame Bovary लिखी, and this particular book tells the bleak story of a marriage that ends in tragedy. Okay, किसकी मैरिज थी? It was the marriage between Madame Bovary and Charles Bovary. ठीक है, okay, Charles Bovary was a husband, and in this particular work Charles Bovary has been portrayed as a very good-hearted, okay, but he was very dull and unambitious doctor with a very meager practice, and he marries Emma. And who was Emma? Emma was Madame Bovary. So Madame Bovary का नाम क्या था इसमें? Emma. So when she got married to Charles Bovary, she ultimately became Madame Bovary. ठीक है, and this Charles Bovary was a very dull and ambitious doctor, and he was not into much practice in medical or medicine, in the line of medicine. Okay, and he who was Emma? Emma was a beautiful farm girl, and he was raised in a convent, and she has like a normal farm girl, or you can say a normal country girl who has a dream of getting married and living a fulfilled life, surrounded by the love of your husband and your children and your near ones. Okay, so similarly Emma also has such an aspiration that when she will get married she will have a life of such sort, but it turned out to be very topsy-turvy. Okay, although she anticipates marriage as a life of adventure, she soon finds that her only excitement derives from the flight of fancy. Okay, so uska excitement kya tha? Only fancy. So she was much happier in the world of imagination than in the world of reality, and she used to read a lot of sentimental romantic novels as well, and these novels has hyped her imagination as well. So she was when she used to come back to reality, she used to mourn because her imaginary world was way far better and happy than her realistic world, and she grows increasingly very bored and unhappy with her middle class existence because she wanted to have a good life, but she was not getting in reality, and she became bored. And when her daughter was born, and the daughter name was Berthe. Okay, Berthe was the name of the Emma Bovary's daughter, and though the child was born, she should be happy, but this Berthe only bring a little joy in her life. So still her life was a kind of a tragedy. Okay, and what sequence follows more? Please read the novel Madame Bovary. So these were the main characters of, and later on when she went to other place, she falls in love with other person, so you should remember who was that person. So this was the main plot of Gustave Flaubert's Madame Bovary. Okay, next is Emile Zola. Now Emile Zola is known to start a movement called as naturalism. Okay, her work Naturalism is theater is the most famous work. In that she said that theaters are not showing naturalistic elements in the plays. The theaters artists are only concerned to show the realistic elements. Okay, so she was the she was a propagander of naturalism. And please remember, Emile Zola is known as big daddy of naturalism. उसको बोला जाता है big daddy of naturalism. So please remember who is known as the big daddy of naturalism. It is Emile Zola. Okay, and she has earned a certain amount of profits from his writing. Okay, he started writing Emile Zola, and he has earned a lot of profit. Okay, and Emile Zola is, again, I told you, considered as a big daddy of naturalism. And Zola's work was a huge inspiration for many of the naturalists that came after him. Okay, so he actually was responsible for propagating the movement of naturalism. And in his work Naturalism in Theatre, ये नहीं लिखा है, please write this work. Naturalism is theatre is known for actually propagating the movement of naturalism in theatre. And please remember that Emile Zola was heavily influenced by Darwin's scientific ideas. Okay, so Darwin जिसने work लिखा था survival of the fittest, ठीक है, तो उसने theory दी थी survival of the fittest, and that's why this from his theory, Darwin's theory, Zola was actually inspired, and he was whatever scientific ideas he used to come with was influenced by Darwin's idea. And this kind of scientific ideas led him to become interested in the way of the environment that shapes people. Okay, so जैसे डार्विन ने बोला था, उसने जो वर्क लिखा था Origin of Species, जिसमें उसने अपना concept दिया survival of the fittest, those people who will be able to sustain themselves with the environment will be living in the environment, others will be directly or naturally eliminated from the environment. And that's why this Emile Zola was interested in the way that environment actually is responsible for shaping the personality of people. Okay, so this was Emile Zola, and please remember he has written 3 of the famous books, that is Naturalism in Theatre, Therese Raquin, and Nana. Okay, so these are very famous work of Emile Zola. And in Therese Raquin, this is actually the first major novel of Emile Zola. Okay, Emile Zola की first novel कौन सी है? Therese Raquin. And this particular work tells the tale of Therese who is unhappily married. Okay, so naturalism क्या expect करता है कि you expect happiness. Okay, but here he was unhappily married. To the whom he was married? He was married to a very egoistical girl, that is Camille. ठीक है, किससे शादी करी थी उसने? Camille. He was married to Camille, who was very egoistical. And when the couple moves to Paris, she gets involved with another person whose name was Laurent, and the 2 lovers plot Camille's murder. Okay, so this was all about the work Therese Raquin. Fine. Next is Nana. Okay, so now Nana is actually a work by Emile Zola, which deals with the story of a prostitute. Okay, so please remember, Nana is the story of prostitute. It traces the story of prostitute. Similarly, the Adventures of Moll Flanders, which is a work by Daniel Defoe. This was also or Roxana. Again, it is a work by Daniel Defoe, and both deals with the story of a prostitute. Similarly, Nana is a work by Emile Zola. It also deals with the story of a prostitute. Is this clear? This was all about Emile Zola. Next, Marcel Proust, In Search of Lost Time. This is a very hefty novel. Okay? This is a very hefty work written by Marcel Proust. And please remember, Marcel Proust was a French novelist, critic, and essayist, and he is best known for monumental novel. ठीक है. He is known for monumental novel. And what was that monumental novel? In Search of Lost Time. And why it has been called as a monumental novel? Because you should remember that it has been written in pages, okay, and it has 2000 characters. Okay, it is written in 332 pages and it has 2000 characters. Just imagine a 2000 characters in a work of in a work. And thanks to NTA that he doesn't ask much deep into this particular work, only the title is important. Because अगर आपको उसमें deeply पूछने लगे तो आप 2000 characters याद करते रह जाओगे, ठीक है. So that's why this is a work by 3200 pages and 2000 characters, and that's why this work is also known as Bible of Character Analysis. This work is also known as Bible of Character Analysis, okay. And this is the new title. In Search of Lost Time is a new title. What was the earlier title? Remembrance of Things Past, ठीक है. Remembrance of Things Past. ठीक है. It was the earlier title of this particular work, In Search of Lost Time, and it was renamed as In Search of Lost Time. And please remember it is published in 7 parts, ठीक है. कितने parts में publish हुआ है? 7 parts में it was published. Is it clear? And also remember that remembrance of things past is a phrase taken from Shakespeare's Sonnet 30, ठीक है. ये जो phrase है, okay, it has been taken, this title, okay, this phrase has been taken from Shakespeare's Sonnet 30. उसका जो सोनेट उसने 154 सोनेट्स लिखे थे, जो उसमें सोनेट 30 है, that from this the remembrance of things past, the phrase have been taken. Please remember these points and note down these points. Is it clear? Any problem? And please like the session to mark your attendance. Okay. Now next is Charles Pierce Baudelaire. So again, a very important French writer, and his most famous work is a book of lyric poetry, and which is titled as The Flower of Evil. ठीक है, तो please remember it is a lyric poetry. It is a lyric poetry. Okay, The Flowers of Evil is a lyric poetry, and he is known for this work. And this particular poetry expresses the changing nature of beauty in modern industrializing Paris. Okay, and which time it was? It was during 19th century. Okay, so please remember it shows the changing nature or the inevitable nature of beauty. And which time it was? It was 19th century modern industrializing Paris. Fine. So this was the work, The Flowers of Evil. That's it. You have to remember these many details about this work. Nothing else you have to remember about this particular work. So please remember it is set in Paris, 19th century. And what kind of a period it was? For modern industrializing Paris. Even if you just look at the Victorian age, ठीक है, 19th century, तो उसमें भी इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन वॉज एक्चुअली एट इट्स टॉप. ठीक है, वो डोमिनेट कर रहा था बिकॉज बुक्स स्टार्टेड प्रोलिफरेटिंग. ठीक है, सो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन वॉज एक्चुअली एनगल्फिंग द ग्लोब एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, बी इट पेरिस और इन ब्रिटेन. ठीक है, सो प्लीज रिमेंबर 19th century पेरिस इंडस्ट्रियलाइजिंग सोसाइटी थी. Okay, next is Soren Kierkegaard. Okay, so again he is a Russian novelist. ठीक है, Russian writer है. Please remember the nationality, that he is a Russian writer, and you have to remember just two of his work, that is Fear and Trembling and The Sickness Unto Death. Okay, so this particular work, Fear and Trembling, it is an influential philosophical work by this writer, and it is written under the pseudonym that is Johannes de Silento, John of the Silence. which in English means John of Silence. ठीक है, John of Silence or Johann de Silento. It is a pseudonym in which this work has been written. Okay, this work has been written under this pseudonym, and please remember that it is a kind of a philosophical work. Okay, so it is a philosophical work. Okay, next is the sickness unto that. So there are three kinds of despair presented in this book, and being unconscious in despair of having a self, not wanting in despair to be oneself, and wanting in despair to be oneself. ठीक है, तो पहले three types of despair कौन से दिखाए हैं? That being unconscious in despair of having a self, not wanting in despair to be oneself, and wanting in despair to be oneself. So these are the three types of despair which has been shown in this book, The Sickness Unto Death. Basically shows the three types of conflict a normal layman has in his life. Okay, so this was all about a sickness unto death. Is it clear? Any problem, you can just post in the chat box. Next writer we have is Umberto Eco. ठीक है, so Umberto Eco, again a very important writer, and he has written a famous work that is Name of the Rose. So please remember, Umberto Eco is an Italian writer who is known for the famous work The Name of the Rose. Okay, and it is the first novel written by him, and it is a this particular work, The Name of the Rose, is a historical murder mystery which is set in Italian monastery. ठीक है, Italian monastery में एक murder हुआ था, उसकी mystery को trace करा गया है in the book The Name of the Rose. Okay, and it is a kind of a you can say intellectual mystery combining semiotics in fiction, biblical analysis, and medieval studies and literary theory. So fiction, literary, biblical analysis, literary theory और medieval studies का combination है to trace the mystery. So that's why this mystery is known as intellectual mystery. Okay, it deals with the intellectual murder mystery. Because the four types of semiotics has been taken, that is Bible analysis, literary theory, fiction, and and medieval studies. Okay, so these kind of things have been taken into play. So that's why this mystery is known as intellectual mystery. Okay, next is Dostoevsky. So again a very important writer from your net point of view. इससे बहुत questions आते हैं, and अगर आप previous years देखो तो इससे questions काफी पूछे गए हैं. So very important writer Dostoevsky, and he is a Russian writer. Okay, he is a Russian writer. Fine. And he has written some of the famous work, that is Idiots, Demons, The Brother Karamazov, and Crime and Punishment. Okay, so in the work The Idiot, the novel protagonist is the 26-year-old Prince Mishkin. Okay, so what was it? The Idiot is actually Prince Mishkin. Just check the spelling once. Okay, so it was actually Prince Mishkin, who was 26 years old, and he returned to Russia after several years at Swiss sanatorium. Okay, so he was in Switzerland in a sanatorium, and after several years he has returned to Russia. And Mishkin is a personification of relatively beautiful man. Okay, so what beauty you define in a man, so uska personification tha Mishkin. So when you what things or what attributes you actually attach to a beautiful man, all those attributes were present in this particular Prince Mishkin. That's why he was a personification of relatively beautiful man. And who was a relatively beautiful man in Christian literature? That is Christ. Okay, so in short, Mishkin has been taken as a personification of Christ, and it contrasts to those around him. He puts no value on money and power. Okay, so he was a prince. He as defined, he is a prince. He must be having money and a power, but he was having no value for that. ठीक है, तो उसको ज़्यादा importance वो नहीं देता था or to money and power, and he feels compassion without hate, love or ferocity. ठीक है, and his relationship with the, you can say, the people around him or the immoral people was inspired by the Christ relationship with Mary Magdalene. ठीक है, so that's that kind of a relation. So basically he has been compared to Christ in this particular work, and he is called idiot because of such differences. Because when you are prince, you have power, you have money, but अगर आपको कोई बोले प्रिंस की मुझे मनी से मतलब नहीं, मुझे पावर से मतलब नहीं है, आई डोंट वांट टू लिव अ लाइफ और लैविश, तो आप उसको इडियट ही बोलोगे ना, दैट यू हैव बीन bestowed from birth such things and you are not actually taking the, you know, taking privilege of those things. So that's why he was called an idiot. So please remember, Pushkin was actually totally different from the prince title which has been entitled to him. That's why he has been called as idiot. Okay, next is Demons. So now this Demons is a kind of an anti-nihilistic novel. Please remember, this work is an anti-nihilistic novel. Okay, please remember that Demons has been considered as a anti-nihilistic novel, and the novel takes place in a provincial Russian setting and primarily on the estates of Russia. ठीक है, so Russian setting होती है, and please remember that it is an anti-nihilistic novel. So as the name says Demons, so it has to be anti-nihilistic. Next is Brother Karamazov. Again an important work, and it is actually considered as the Dostoevsky final and largest novel. Okay, it is considered as Dostoevsky final and largest novel. Okay, now next the last work, that is Crime and Punishment, very important work of Dostoevsky. So इसको मैं डिटेल में डिस्कस करूंगी because इससे आपके क्वेश्चंस जरूर आते हैं. ठीक है, so now Crime and Punishment describes the life of Rodin Raskolnikov. ठीक है, okay, just take the spelling ones from the net. So I think this is a spelling. Crime and Punishment is a name, shows the life of the character Rodin Raskolnikov, and his life ranges from murder of a pawnbroker and a sister, and then later on he gone into a spiritual regeneration with the help of a character named as Sonia, who was a hooker with a heart of gold. ठीक है, she used to do hooking, but by character she has a heart of gold, who helped Rodin Raskolnikov in his spiritual regeneration. Okay, and towards what happened later on during the end of his life, he was sentenced in Siberia. Okay, so this was. Yes, Avnish, I will be completing all the units. Thank you for commenting. Okay, so this was about Rodin Raskolnikov. So he was actually shows a journey of him from his murder of a pawnbroker and a sister to spiritual regeneration, and with the help of which character he goes under spiritual regeneration? With the help of Sonia. With the help of Sonia, he goes under spiritual regeneration, and in the end, he was sentenced in Siberia. Okay, in the end, he was sentenced in Siberia. So this was all about Crime and Punishment. Please read this novel and remember the important characters of this novel. Questions इससे पूछे जाते हैं. Fine. Next, Gunter Grass, very important writer. Gunter Grass से भी आपके काफी questions आते हैं, and he is a German author who was popular for his work. ठीक है, he is a German author जो अपने वर्क के लिए पॉपुलर है, दैट इज Die Blectromel, Cats and Mouse and Hunde Zere, that is dog ears. So this is the English name, that is Tin Drum, Cat and Mouse and Dog Ears, and इनको together क्या बोला जाता है? They are known as Danzig Trilogy. Okay, these three works together are known as Danzig Trilogy. Please remember that Gunter Grass is known for the Gunter Grass is known for these three works, and उनको तीनों works को क्या बोला जाता है? They are known as Danzig trilogy, and these works are very important from a net point of view because एक बार आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा गया था कि like Tin Drum is one of the work from the Danzig trilogy, in which of the following are the other works. Okay, so that's why you have to remember all the three works of these novels. ठीक है, and all the three works deal with the rise of Nazism. ओके, किस मेन थीम क्या था दोनों तीनों वर्क का? दैट इज द राइज ऑफ नाजिज्म एंड विद द वॉर एक्सपीरियंस इन द यूनिक कल्चरल सेटिंग ऑफ डांसिग. ओके, सो राइज ऑफ नाजिज्म तीनों का ही मेन थीम है, rise of Nazism. Okay, and these all works deal with the rise of Nazism and with the war experience. And in the work Dog Years, the work Dog Years has been taken as a sequel to the Tin Drum. जो Dog Years है, it has been taken as sequel to Tin Drum. Please remember that. ठीक है, जो Dog Years है, it is the sequel to Tin Drum. Fine. Okay, now let me tell you about the work Tin Drum, because इन तीनों में सबसे ज़्यादा important Tin Drum है, तो उसकी ही आपको रीडिंग करनी है. Okay, and the story of Tin Drum revolves around the life of Oscar Metzerath. Okay, the character of Tin Drum, the main character is Oscar Metzerath. Again, question of previous year. In which of the following work there's a character named as Oscar Metzerath? It was in Tin Drum. Okay, so please remember Oscar Metzerath is the main character in the novel Tin Drum, and he was gifted with a piercing shriek that can shatter anything. Okay, or glass, or you can say a weapon. Okay, so he was actually having a piercing shriek. Please remember what tool he had. He was a piercing shriek that can shatter glass or be used as a weapon. So that was a weapon of him, and Oscar declares himself to be one of those infant whose spiritual development is complete at birth and only needs to affirm itself. कि he was spiritually developed, अब उसको सिर्फ अपनी journey ही जीनी है. So that kind of an infant he used to take himself, and he retains the status of a child while living through the beginning of the World War II, and you can say the world of post-war Europe. So again the backdrop में क्या था? World War II का scenario था. Okay, so please remember the main character also was Metzerath, and उसका weapon क्या था? That was a piercing shriek, and what it can do, it can actually shatter anything, be it glass. Okay, so that's the story of the Tin Drum, and please remember these works are known as Danzig trilogy. इसका main theme है rise of Nazism, and there was also a backdrop of World War II. Okay, and this Dog Years has been taken as sequel to Tin Drum. Next. Okay, next is Michael Sokolov. So again a very important writer, and please remember he is a Russian novelist. He is a Russian novelist and who was awarded Nobel Prize in Literature. Okay, so he's a Nobel awardee also, and he's a Russian novelist, and the work Quiet Flows to Dawn is a very important work, and is a novel by it's a Russian novel by Michael Sholokov, and this particular novel is considered one of the most significant works of literature of the 20th century. ठीक है, जो 20th century की literature थी, this work has been a notable in that century. So please remember the age also, that was 20th century, and this particular work depicts the lives and struggles of Don Cossacks. So who was the character? It was Don Cossacks, जिसका struggles दिखाया गया है in this work, and Quiet Flows the Dawn. So Don over here is the actually Don Cossacks. Please remember the character name, that is Don Cossack. And what was the backdrop of this particular work? It was World War. Okay, it was World War I, which was the backdrop of this particular novel. So इसके Don Cossacks के struggles दिखाए हैं in life during World War I, and also in the period of Russian Revolution and Russian Civil War. Okay, and Russian Revolution also. Okay, so the Don Cossacks struggles दिखाए in life through World War I, the Russian Revolution and Russian Civil War, and for this particular work, Sholokov has been awarded a Nobel Prize in Literature. Okay, so please make a note of it. Next is Boris Pasternak, again important writer, and this Dr. Zivako से भी आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछे गए. If you look at the previous years, Dr. Zivako से भी आप questions in the net आए हुए हैं. Okay, and please remember it was first published in Italy. ठीक है, this work was first published in Italy by Boris Pasternak, and the novel is named after its protagonist. And who was the protagonist of this particular work? It was Yuri Zivako. Dr. Zivako का name क्या था? It was Yuri Zivako. Okay, so Yuri Zivako is the full name of the doctor, and after his name, the novel has been named, that is Dr. Zivako. And Yuri Zivako in this particular work was a physician and a poet also, and takes place between the Russian Revolution and Second World War. Fine. So please remember, like and Quiet Flows the Dawn, जहाँ पे रशियन रेवोल्यूशन एंड वर्ल्ड वॉर था, वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 था, यहाँ पे रशियन रेवोल्यूशन एंड वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 है. Okay, so backdrop is World War 2 and Russian Revolution. Okay, and basically due to the reflections on the October Revolution, which was there in Russia at that point of time, Dr. Zivako was refused publication in the USSR. So USSR was actually previously Russia. Okay, and Pasternak was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Free. So in the initial years, it was actually banned from USSR, but later on it was recognized, and Boris Pasternak was awarded Nobel Prize for the work Dr. Zivako. Yes, thank you, Abneesh. I hope the things are clear to you about this particular writer, Boris Pasternak and Michael Sholokov. Only these details you have to remember, nothing else you have to go in detail. So please make a reading of Dr. Zivako because it's an important work, and the details of this work you have to remember whatever I have told you. Okay, I hope you have understood the points which I have told you about various authors. I try to complete most of the writers and their work of the European literature in this particular lecture. Some other writers are left, which I'm going to discuss in my next lecture on Monday. So please stay tuned for this lecture. And in case you have any doubts, you can just post in the comment section. Okay, I hope you are taking a lot of substance from these series. And in case you need something more or you have any doubt, you can just feel free to ask anytime. Okay. And please like the session if you have enjoyed the session. Please comment your views about the session, and please subscribe to the channel for more such updates. Okay, and students, please stay tuned for the 1 p.m. session as well, as I have brought some previous questions based on the European literature. Okay, stay tuned for that session as well, and take care and goodbye. Thank you, Devendra.